Hey everyone, welcome to the most anticipated matchup in round 1 of the Tata Steel Masters. So Ding Liren is playing white in this game against the reigning world champion Magnus Carlsen. Carlsen hasn't won a classical game for quite a while. His last victory was against the Russian Grandmaster Vladimir Potkin in the European Club Cup last October, so I can imagine that Carlsen he wants to start off this year with a win. So Ding Liren, on the other hand, is not one to back down from a fight. Last year was an incredible year for Ding. He managed to break into the 2800 club, and he was almost unbeaten throughout the entire year. So this is definitely going to be a very interesting game. Ding had white in this game, and he opened with knight f3. Carlsen played knight f6. We have g3 and b5 from Carlsen. So an interesting move, and Carlsen is probably signaling that he is ready for a good fight. So Ding played d4, we have e6, bishop g5, pinning the knight. And here Carlsen played c5, trying to undermine white's center. So previously, bishop g2 has been played before by Kamsky against So in 2015. But here Ding played the move d5, and this is actually a novelty in the position. So an interesting move. Taking is definitely what white wants. Black voluntarily compromises his structure, and white will now play bishop g2. So other options to consider are bishop b7. Black is asking what white is going to do with the d5 pawn. And if white takes on e6, then this just gives black more control in the center. And if white plays e4, well, this looks somewhat shaky. So bishop b7 definitely an option to consider. But here Carlsen plays queen a5 check. Also a decent continuation. So bishop back to d2 from Ding. He could also play knight b to d2, developing a new piece. So encouraging knight takes d5, where white is claiming that he is ahead in development. So here black wants to play h6, and after something like bishop e3, knight takes bishop. So white has to go e4 to kick the knight back, which was controlling these squares. So after knight f6, white can play a4 to try and discourage this queen off this annoying e1, a5 diagonal, and also stop black from going knight takes e4. So here if knight takes, then you can play a takes b5, opening up a discovered attack on the queen, and if queen b6, then you can take the knight. So if queen b4, then there's c3, which wins a piece. So knight b to d2 definitely playable, but here Ding goes for bishop to d2. Carlsen dropped the queen back. Ding took on e6. So Ding needs to play something active here, as Carlsen has more potential in the center with his central pawns. So Ding plays the move a4. So a6 is the move black would love to play here, but unfortunately black cannot recapture with the a pawn because this pawn is pinned. So here Carlsen played b4, a5, so the queen has to drop all the way back to d8. If queen c7, this runs into bishop to f4, a tempo gainer, and black doesn't really want to play the move d6 because that would weaken the e6 pawn, and black preferably wants to keep the pawn on d7. So after a5, queen all the way back to d8, the most logical continuation. So here bishop g2, and we have knight c6. So bishop b7 looks very natural, but Carlsen perhaps didn't want to allow white the option of going a6 in some lines. So for example, if white were to castle and black play knight c6, then a6 could be rather annoying for Carlsen. So that is probably why Carlsen played the knight to c6. So this is sort of challenging Ding to play the move knight e5, which he did play, trying to take advantage of the pin. So Carlsen took on e5, giving up the exchange, and then he played d5. So Carlsen is trying to claim that he has compensation due to his excellent central control and also due to the fact that this bishop is, for the moment, it is out of the game. So a6 played by Ding to keep the light square bishop. Carlsen developed the bishop, bishop d7, and at the same time attacking the bishop, so bishop b7. Bishop d6 developing and also preparing to castle kingside. And this is now a critical position for Ding, because it's basically the kind of position which can go very wrong if not given enough care. So for example, if white were to castle, black can castle in this position, and he has a very clear plan of going queen e8, queen h4. These knights could come to one of these squares. So this looks quite dangerous actually for white. So after bishop d6, Ding played bishop to g5. So this aims to diminish black's control of d5 and e4. And at some point, white hopes to break with the move e4, which could potentially free up his bishop. So here Carlsen plays knight f7, attacking the bishop. And after the capture on f6, queen takes f6, the queen now looks at b2. Ding develops his knight, knight d2. So the question now is, can black safely capture on b2? Carlsen first castles in this position, Ding castles as well, and now Carlsen took on b2. So now Ding breaks with e4. d5 is attacked twice, so Carlsen plays queen d4. So another interesting possibility is to play bishop b5, attacking the rook. So the best for white in this position is to play e takes d5 and give up the exchange. So here black plays e5 to keep this bishop locked out. After bishop b5, if white goes rook e1 trying to keep his exchange, then knight to g5 poses difficulties for white. Black wants to go queen d4 and attack the f2 pawn. And if this knight were to move, let's say to b3, then this allows knight to f3. So bishop b5 is interesting, but here Carlsen played queen to d4. So now Ding took on d5, and Carlsen played the move e5. So if e takes d5, this runs into knight to b3, where Carlsen would be forced to exchange queens, otherwise the pawn on d5 will fall, and this is going to be good for Ding. So here e5 from Carlsen, we have knight b3, queen e4, and queen d3. So Carlsen has to decline the queen trade or he is going to end up with a worse position. So queen g4, Ding plays f3, kicking the queen back. So it seems that the past couple of moves have only been beneficial for Ding. His pieces are now better coordinated, and black's center is not what it was. And also look out for this pawn on d5, as it could potentially become a dangerous asset. However, with that being said, this is still a very complex position, and anything can happen. So here Ding played knight to d2, possibly eyeing e4, so Carlsen stops that with knight to g5, and also at the same time putting more pressure on f3. So here Ding plays bishop to c6. Queen to e3 is also a move to consider, where the queen now looks at e5 and c5 while also protecting the f3 pawn. And if white gets the chance, a move like knight e4 could be rather annoying. So this move also discourages black from going c4 and c3, trying to remove the defender of f3, because here now c4, then white can go knight e4. And notice that white's queen is eyeing the a7 pawn, and this would turn out to be crucial in this line. So here if knight takes f3, you can actually play rook takes f3, and then take on a7 with good chances for white because of this dangerous pawn. So after queen to e3, a most likely continuation for black would be bishop h3. So rook f2 is actually the computer's recommendation, but this looks kind of awkward. So instead of rook f2, bishop c6 is kind of interesting. The idea is that you give up the exchange, and white is hoping to play bishop d7 followed by bishop to g4 to secure the king side and free up this knight, which could come to one of these squares. But back to the game, bishop c6 played. Ding tries to get his bishop back into the game. Carlsen played bishop h3. So here bishop b5 from Ding, giving up the exchange. Bishop takes f1, rook takes f1. And if white is allowed to consolidate his position with queen e3 and bishop e2, then Ding is going to be better. So this blockading bishop could also become an issue with a move like knight c4. So here Carlsen plays rook takes f3 to simplify the position. So knight takes f3, e4, queen to e3, knight takes f3. So this has to be taken. If king f2, then queen takes h2 is mate. Rook takes f3 is forced. Queen takes f3, and here if this e takes f3, then white has queen to e6, winning the bishop. So queen takes f3, queen takes, pawn takes, king to f2, and it was in this position that Magnus Carlsen and Ding Liren agreed to a draw, as this is an opposite colored bishop ending with equal amount of pawns after white takes on f3. So quite ending to a very wild game. I hope you enjoyed this game. I certainly did. And if you want to see more games from this Tata Steel tournament, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day.